let's get into this week's programming. We'll start with Monday Night Raw.
Mhm.
Um, I think just looking ahead, I think across the board in terms of all of the the mainstream wrestling shows that are on TV between Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and AEW, I think AEW had the best show again. I think they have consistently had the best quote empty arena shows and have been just the best at sort of adapting and learning how to present wrestling in this sort of new format that we have to do right now. But we started off Raw with the VIP lounge. And God, I keep thinking about it. I think I write this down. So much for MVP's retirement. Like he posted that it was like a one-time deal or whatever, and wanted his son to see him wrestle and all that jazz. But he's a big part of the program now, and so we got the VIP lounge, and once again, I just have to commend Zelina Vega in terms of helping bring back the manager role in pro wrestling. She is so good, and I like the stable that she's building. They're all they all bring something a little different to the table, which I really appreciate, and I just dig it, man. Like I like what her and her stable have going on right now. What I am not bought in on is Apollo Crews. Like the first note that I have written down from Raw this week is they really want me to buy an Apollo Crews push, and I just wrote in parentheses kiss my ass. Like I'm not. I'm not buying it. I'm not digging it. Like Apollo is very good in the ring. He's a tremendous athlete, but the dude has no charisma. He's got no personality, and when he tries to show some, it comes off so goofy and forced and just like white bread, bland, vanilla crap. Like it's just not good. I mean, am I wrong? Like, are you feeling like Apollo Cruz's new attitude is just like a big smile and a like acting like he has some swagger that just comes off so forced?
Well, yeah, I definitely see what you're saying, and it's just mind-boggling to me because they acknowledge that this is the biggest push he's ever gotten, and it's like what 4 years in the making since he's been quote called up. So it's just kind of ironic that it's like, wow, 4 years later they're finally like giving him some attention. So yeah, like I will admit I did kind of geek out hard when he gave Andrade that slap, very Dr. D David Schultz type of slap this week on Raw. I enjoyed that. I was like, damn, that was a loud one. But yeah, it doesn't seem fully natural or smooth. I guess maybe the word I'm thinking of as far as his delivery. So if I don't fully believe it, then that's why I might have a little bit of a hiccup of believing in him in this push right now, or feel that he's deserving of it. Uh, I, I'm just curious, like maybe Apollo Cruz, he's getting this push because he's there. And as we just talked about earlier with Kevin Owens, like there's some people who are not showing up to the tapings right now. So Apollo Crews is like, I'm here. And they're like, okay, we'll reward you with this push right now. That's the only thing I'm thinking of
The,
why he's getting it right now.
what I think all until proven otherwise, and I don't want any criticism to be mistaken as I'm not rooting for the guy to find his voice and find his personality. I certainly am. I would love to be into every person that is on my television screen and find what works for them creatively. He just hasn't found it yet. And what I will always think of with Apollo Crews is the WWE Breaking Ground series when Scott Hall came to visit and they were doing like promos and Scott Hall was coaching them up on their promos and he
Hmm.
Apollo Crews cuts this promo. He's like, "Yeah, but do you really like talk like that? Like nobody talks like that." Just like basically he's like, "Dude, what you have to believe in what you're saying." And
Yeah.
and that was a through line through all of WWE's programming really this week that is sort of been highlighted both positive and negative is that you can tell the people that have their character figured out, that have a character that exists when the cameras aren't rolling, that is a fully realized creation that they understand what that character would say in most any given situation, and then you have the vast majority of people who don't have a fully realized creation or character and don't know what they would say
Hmm.
in many given situations, and that to me is what is most glaringly missing from a lot of professional wrestling that is on TV and elsewhere
Hmm.
is understanding who you are as a wrestler, not who you are personally,
Yeah.
but who your character is. What is their motivation? What, like, everything about it. Blah 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 blah. On down the line.
The message you're trying to get out there.
Who? Not even just who are you? Pretend this person exists, and what would they do in this situation? Some people have it figured out, and that, to me, those are the people that there's a reason why they're superstars and they're main eventers and all that jazz. And then there's the people that are trying to figure out. And in a situation like this, when you don't have a crowd, it makes it glaring that they don't know, because they use the crowd as a crutch to sort of further their own motivations when they don't really have any of their own. So that is definitely something that has stood out to me. Jinder Mahal made his return on Monday Night Raw. And, I know Jinder Mahal and his title run was pretty polarizing. I don't think he had the best run with the championship in the world. It didn't light the world on fire the same way that JBL's SmackDown run, which I think he got a lot of undue comparisons to JBL when they gave him the WWE Championship. But that being said, I like Jinder Mahal. I think he has good legs to character to him. If they take him seriously, or not, they need to decide what they want him to be, because they have sort of oscillated with him both ways, in that, on one hand, he'll be this very credible, menacing, underhanded, dirty heel, and then, a couple weeks later, he'll be doing the sort of like the guru gimmick and, come off very goofy and not credible. So they have to pick a lane with Jinder, and commit to it, and he can do either one of those well, and I think he will get over as a heel. But they have to pick one.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I think he is naturally a good heel when he's, as you mentioned, like very menacing and just wants to beat the crap out of you. I enjoy that, and we kind of saw that this week. And what I did enjoy as far as his return this week, the commentary really were pressing hard, reminding everyone, he's a former WWE champion. So I was like, ooh, is that a little bit of a sign that he's going to get a push, or at least maybe the future opponent for Drew McIntyre? And there's a natural story right there. I mean, both were former members of three-man band, 3MB. So I was like, ooh, I know right now Drew McIntyre's focus is Seth Rollins, but maybe when that program's done, the next person, if Drew wins, and I hope he does, the next opponent that he moves on to is Jinder Mahal. And Jinder Mahal has natural beef there. Be like, listen, we're former friends, alliances with 3MB, but hey, I'm a former WWE champion as well. I want that title back. And it just writes itself. And I'm totally down for that program. And I think if done correctly, it could be very compelling to watch. So I really enjoy his comeback this week and laying a little bit of a foundation, Easter eggs of what could come for him in the coming months.
I think that's a great point, is that they could rehab Jinder Mahal's on TV credibility and make him a good challenger for Drew McIntyre. There's a sort of natural pairing off there that would really work. And, I just think, why wouldn't you want him to get over? And even the ring announcer announced him as former WWE champion Jinder Mahal. So it definitely looks like that he's going to be positioned for at least somewhat of a push here. And I'm fine with that. I think just keep it consistent, and I think Jinder will do all right. All right, let's circle back to Apollo Crews, because you mentioned the slap and the challenging of Andrade for the U.S. Championship, trying to beat Andrade twice in one night.
Yeah.
They had a very solid match leading up to a creative ref stoppage finish with Apollo tweaking his knee early on in the match. I really liked the story they were telling with that, and Apollo having all the heart in the world, but just not being able to continue because his body betrayed him, because when he tweaked that knee. And now he's out of Money in the Bank. He's on crutches, all this stuff. It's very sad for Apollo Crews. What do you think about this storyline, and now Apollo being pulled from Money in the Bank?
Well, okay, so that's an easy way for maybe try to get some sympathy for him. So it's like, okay, maybe the push they want to give him is as a baby face, and what easy way to kind of get some natural sympathy is you feel sorry for him. Like, oh my God, last couple of weeks he's been being built up as this new baby face out of nowhere, and he's getting the push, and Money in the Bank is his opportunity to really take his career in a whole new direction for the better. And then because of this injury, he's being pulled from it, so now you feel sorry for him. And okay, it's like, is this something they're going to use moving forward? So now the question is, okay, does he somehow? I think was it this coming Monday on Raw? They're going to do like a gauntlet match for that final position. Now, does Apollo hypothetically does Apollo enter that while injured and wins it, and then trying to build some even more babyface sympathy for him or love for him, or someone else wins, but then maybe Apollo still shows up at the actual Money in the Bank match on the pay-per-view and somehow gets involved or causes the decision one way or the other. So I think they're just trying to plant the seeds for maybe different directions, and we'll find out more obviously with Raw on the Go Home show this coming week and moving forward. But even if he doesn't get involved in Money in the Bank, I mean, maybe this is a way to kind of give him a babyface push on the mid card level. That's the only thing I can see also as a backup plan. But they're definitely, I think, trying to set it up that they're trying to maybe use him as some fresh talent, because we've been talking about that, like a lot of fresh faces have been getting some pushes lately the last couple weeks on TV. So maybe Apollo is going to be one of those guys. But obviously the bigger question, what you brought up, as far as is he deserving of it? Will he live up to the hype that they're maybe building up for him based on his track record as a performer? That is yet to be seen.
Yeah, well, he needs to find more than just some sympathy. Sympathy's fine. He needs a character though, and he doesn't have one yet. All right, the main event segment was the Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins contract signing segment. I actually thought, as far as contract signing segments go, this was one of the better ones. I liked the promo from Seth a lot. I liked most of Drew's. He as a babyface champion, Drew sometimes wanders into that slightly comedic tater tots-esque territory. Not that bad, but I feel like I can see those strings a little bit, pulling him towards that direction. But overall, he kept it pretty serious. He dropped an S-bomb on Monday Night Raw, saying that Seth was full of it. I overall, I really liked this segment. I liked Disciple Murphy showing up and, again, sort of dying for Seth's sins and eating the Claymore. I enjoyed this. I thought this was a good sort of sign-off for Raw this week on an otherwise kind of a abysmal show. What did you think of the main event segment?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I think these type of segments just keep adding to Drew's very fresh title reign, as far as adding credibility as him as the top guy now for WWE, or at least on the Raw brand. I'm all for it. I'm a big fan of Drew, what they've been doing with him so far. And as far as him being a champ that shows up every week now, but that's also, he's a legit threat in his own way. I think, like, what I hope they do with Drew, and this is something like AEW was doing. Like AEW, you can argue in their short time span of existence, their top baby faces are booked strong. They're not just being booked goofy or these naive personalities, but they're like a legit threat. Like, sure, the heels coming after them, but they stand up on their own and fight back, and you cheer them on because of that. They're taking down the bad guy. So with Drew McIntyre, I'm all for him, like, standing his ground, and he's not going to take crap from any of these heels coming after him. And if you keep booking him strong like that, then you're going to get a really awesome title reign. And then when I think the audiences are starting able to come back into attendance, I cannot wait for him to get that first pop in front of a live crowd as the WWE champion. So with this segment, I think it just keeps adding to it, and it's making me more intrigued and excited for their match at Money in the Bank.
It's a great matchup, because I would understand if they wanted to put it on Seth. Like, there's great motivation for both guys going into this, and they're two very strong characters. So I'm very excited to see them face off and see what direction they want to go in at Money in the Bank. And I'll say this now before we move on to NXT, but in watching all the WWE programming this week, they did it to death in terms of the reward is worth the risk, and the most unique Money in the Bank match ever. Right down to the fact that Jerry Lawler had to use that terminology. Daniel Bryan had to. Commentary did it to death. It was so awful, the way that they just hammered. They beat that dead horse, resurrected it, and then beat it to death again. It was brutal. I hated it. I'm so excited to see how they're actually going to do this Money in the Bank match. Mm-hmm. But the promotion of it with just beating those talking points to death, stop it. Just stop it. You're doing it way too much. It's insane. It's insane to me.